What's going on, guys? Welcome in. Happy Red Friday. I am your host, Farzin Vasugian. This is the Red Friday live chat. Chiefs training camp in full swing. Yes, we are one step closer to football season. Are we one step closer to football season, or is it football season? Which one is it? Because I've always had mixed feelings in the past. Is it football season? Is it not football season yet? I mean, the players obviously, I mean, they think it's football season, but is it actually football season? I'm not exactly sure. But nonetheless, I think it's football season. Some people have mixed opinions. Some people say the first preseason game. Some people say the first regular season game. I've had mixed feelings about this in the past, but I think it's the first regular season game. I think that is the the first training camp practice. That's the true start of football season to me. Obviously, not the same intensity. It just feels bigger whenever you get closer to the actual games. So we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. For the first time, I'm doing one of my live streams on X. So X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I see a lot of you guys watching on X. I appreciate it. Huge shout out to all of you guys. A lot of new followers over the last few days with all the video content. I do appreciate that. Here's how this works. This is the Red Friday Q&A live chat. So whatever questions you guys have, whatever's on your mind, please post them below. Let's chat it up here. Let's have some fun. That is what the Q&A live chat is all about. Basically, answering all of your guys' questions and going over any thoughts you guys might have on anything. Again, could be Chiefs football, could be the NFL, and sometimes we get off topic. We talk about barbecue here in Kansas City, food, all kinds of things we get into. We get off topic from time to time. That's happened in the past with the Red Friday Q&A live chat. So I'll start off here, just kind of giving you guys some of my thoughts with the Chiefs, specifically training camp and everything that we've seen so far. I know with today's practice, it was closed to the public due to the weather and whatnot. I think there was some flooding, and I think some of that might have had to do with the entry. It's a little hard to explain if you've never been to Missouri Western, and specifically the practice fields that they allow the Chiefs to use. There are a lot of bleachers across the area, and if you go to the full other side of the practice fields from a viewing standpoint, it's basically a grassy area. They've got some bleachers there, but if St. Joe just had a big storm there, probably not the most ideal place to go. Get muddy and whatnot. Timmy says, "Hi, can I ask questions?" You just asked one right there, Timmy. You can ask several more. But yeah, no, please ask whatever questions are on your mind. I'm gonna try to see. I see a lot of you guys are watching on Twitter or X, again, whatever you guys want to call it. I don't know how the chat works on that, if it'll show up on my end or if I have to go to X. But I'll figure that out, I guess, as we go. But I appreciate a lot of you guys, again, a lot of new followers on all of my social media this week. Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate that. And yeah, let's rock and roll. I'll give you guys some of my thoughts, and I see questions already coming in, so I'll get to your guys' questions very shortly here. Let's start with offensive tackles, because that is the one topic everybody has been talking about this offseason with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's been a big talking point this year in training camp so far already. And kind of a surprising start with Jawaan Taylor on PUP. That was unexpected with a knee injury. Andy Reid mentioned the three guys who are on PUP. Jawaan Taylor is expected to be the first one to come off. Kind of made it sound like he wasn't expected to be there too long. That was just maybe my just on Andy Reid's comments there. So I'm not expecting Taylor to be on there for too long. Again, I know Jawaan Taylor is not the most popular player around Kansas City. I get that. I still think that is Andy Reid's preferred number one right tackle going into week one. And I recognize a lot of you guys may not like that. I don't like that either. But I still think that's who the Chiefs want to go with. Now, I said this, I posted a reel a few minutes ago, if you guys haven't checked it out already, and I'll say it again. I truly do believe that Jawaan Taylor is on a very short leash. Listen, this guy has had a lot of penalties and a lot of pressures allowed over the last 2 seasons. Last 2 years combined in Kansas City, 84 pressures allowed. He was 19th in pressures last year and 10th 2 years ago. 12 sacks allowed. It's not terrible, but I think Patrick Mahomes has kind of helped mask that. He's also committed 37 penalties in the last 2 years. Now, I got a little bit of pushback on this one. I know he was picked on, and I think some of it was unfair in 2023, where whatever he was, because I attended the week 1 game, so whatever the broadcasters were complaining about, I had no idea until I got home and heard all the reactions to that. When I'm watching that game in person, I mean, the Lions sideline, they have absolutely no complaints. They're not yelling at the officials or any of that. If players or coaches are upset about something, you will see it, whether you're in person or you're watching from home. I did not see the Lions complaining to the officials. And I went back and watched all the preseason snaps with Jawaan Taylor and some of his snaps in Jacksonville. He had been doing the same thing for so many years, but it was just that night against the Lions on Thursday night to open up the season. That is where he got all of that attention with his snap movement. But he has committed some illegal formation, not lining up correctly, some holds, illegal blocks that have hurt the Chiefs. In third and short situations, they've turned into third and medium and sometimes third and long. That you cannot afford. And in addition, he's been very inconsistent with his pass blocking. He'll have some really good games with his pass blocking, but then he'll look like the worst offensive tackle in the league with what he does. And I think with the Chiefs, you recognize, hey, Super Bowl 55, that was a mess because of the offensive line. More so the injuries that occurred all year long. And Eric Fisher got injured in the last or second to last game before the Super Bowl. And the Chiefs had basically a JV offensive line in that Super Bowl. This past Super Bowl, obviously shifting Joe Thuney to left tackle, a position he's not really familiar with, that definitely made an impact in the postseason. And then the Super Bowl, it was a completely different deal. Mike Caliendo, very little experience. And again, in the postseason, you saw that kind of catch up to him. Jawaan Taylor had his struggles all year long, including the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs have got to put 5 good offensive linemen out there. They don't have to be all pro guys. Let's just look at the right tackle position right now. If you can get an offensive tackle to play on the right side for you, that can be just average. Just average. Can't Patrick Mahomes manage that? I think he can. If Josh Simmons lives up to expectations, and I think he will, Kingsley Suamataia, I think, is better suited at left guard than left tackle. I think the speed of the game will be better for him at guard than tackle. And I'm not going to go over Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. You all know about Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. We don't need to go into detail about how great those two guys are. But this is a Chiefs football team right now that has to figure out, how can we protect Patrick Mahomes? Because if you can't protect Patrick Mahomes, having Patrick Mahomes on this team really won't mean much. You got a lot of great wide receivers that possess a lot of great speed. Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Royals. I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to seeing. Juju, I know he's not the wide receiver he once was, but he'll still come through for you. And he did that a couple of times last year against the Saints in that Monday night game where he had 100 and some yards. And also in that AFC Championship game against Buffalo. I get these comments, oh, Juju sucks, he can't catch. Buffalo must have missed that memo, because Juju was pretty big in that game. I would say Juju in that Buffalo AFC title game, very similar to how Marquez Valdes-Scantling came through the year before in the postseason when the Chiefs visited the Bills in the playoffs. That's how big of an impact Juju had. And, he had a few other plays here and there. But again, Juju's now been a depth player, which is not what he once was. Overall, what he's been able to do in his career. But he came back to Kansas City knowing that'd be part of his role. And that's what he's been doing for the Chiefs. Obviously, if the wide receivers stay healthy, I think this could be a much different season than last year, offensively speaking. Are the Chiefs going to win 15 games again? I don't know. That's pretty difficult to do. It's almost like Patrick Mahomes' first year when he threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. In your first year as a starter, that's really hard to do. He's been able to surpass 5,000 yards again, but again, that is a very difficult thing to do. I don't know if I expect 15 wins again, maybe close to it. 13 or 14, I think would be more realistic. But I do think Kansas City overall can have an easier time offensively speaking. I still expect the defense to be similar to last year, maybe even show some improvement and try to be closer to the year before. But man, if that offense plays much better, I think this upcoming season could go much differently for Kansas City. I really do. Let me check. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing the chat on the live stream from Twitter. So I apologize. I'll try to keep up with the tweets if I see any. I see a lot of you guys watching on Twitter, and I do appreciate that. But I'm not seeing, unless it's on my mentions, I don't see it. Or maybe there are just a lot of lurkers and no chatters. That's a possibility as well. But if you guys have anything you guys want to chime in with, please ask it below, because we are answering questions right now. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of that right now. Let's start with Luke Alexandre. He is asking, any of you guys go to Chiefs Bills in November at Buffalo? I am interested to join Chiefs Kingdom at the tailgate game. Well, you can't go wrong with the Chiefs tailgate, that's for sure. I will say Buffalo, I've heard a lot of good things about the atmosphere in Buffalo. I've heard they're pretty friendly to visitors. So take that for what it's worth, even though the Chiefs and Bills have had quite an intense rivalry. But I mean, listen, they're not going to do anything to you. You know how loud and vocal and mean Raiders fans are on Twitter? Dude, I've gone to a few Chiefs Raiders game, both here in Arrowhead and also in Vegas. Now, I know Raiders fans, whenever the Chiefs and Raiders play in Vegas, you see more and more red over the years. It's basically Arrowhead West. But I've sat around a bunch of Raiders fans before for a Chiefs Raiders game in Vegas. I'm telling you right now, Raiders fans are some of the most harmless people to exist. Yeah, they're loud on Twitter. A lot of people can be loud on Twitter or on Facebook, wherever. But man, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to hurt you. I mean, listen, even in the black hole, I've never been in Oakland, but I've heard stories that, you know, they'll yell at the players and whatnot, but they don't do anything to the fans. So, all right, there's that first question out of the way. Alexander wants to know, what game this season are you looking forward to the most? Let's see. Let's look at the Chiefs schedule. There's one selfishly I'm interested in, and that is a Dallas game, because I will be there. I've never been to Dallas before. I've been, well, that's a lie. I've been to Dallas, but only at the airport, which I don't even count. Like, I've been to Atlanta, but that's just the airport, and I don't even count that, honestly. I've never been in the actual city of Dallas. And I'm excited because I really do want to try Texas barbecue. I've heard a lot of things, so I'll give that a try while I'm there. They also have a Black Tap there. I've been there many times in Vegas. That is really good. The Eagles game, I think, definitely has to be high on that list. I think the Baltimore game as well in week 4, that's going to say a lot about both the Chiefs and the Ravens. I know right now on on a lot of sports books, actually, I think all of them, the Ravens are above the Chiefs in terms of Super Bowl odds, as well as the Bills in week 9. I know there was a question earlier about the Bills. So I would say week 2, Philly, which I'll be there for that one. Let's see, week 4, Baltimore, and week 9, Buffalo, and then Thanksgiving against Dallas. And normally, selfishly, I look forward to the Raiders game in Vegas, but that's a week 18 game. That could be one where we see some backups. Maybe not. The Chiefs have played in Vegas before for the final week of the season, and they've put in their starters there to try to get the number 1 seed. So maybe they'll be in a situation where they're still going to need all of their starters in that one. We'll see. But to answer your question, those are the 4 games I'm looking forward to the most. Do you travel to Buffalo for a game? I go here in November. any suggestion for Chiefs Kingdom? I don't know, but I do know there are a lot of Chiefs Facebook groups that kind of will promote these kinds of things. So that would be that'd be a good place to go. Chris says, from what you have seen of Josh Simmons, do you feel like he might be the answer to getting Patrick the protection that he's been needing? When it comes to those offensive line drills, he looks fast, he looks quick. That's very important. We had Garrett Dieter on the podcast earlier this year, and he talked about the struggles with Kingsley Suamataia, and he mentioned how, you know, there are some edge rushers out there. They're running a 4.5 40, some of them even a 4.4. There are some fast and speedy edge rushers compared to edge rushers from the last 20, 30 years. That position has definitely been one where it requires a lot of speed in order to be successful. And I think Josh Simmons can hold his own there. And here's the thing about Josh Simmons, and I posted a clip today from Chiefs practice. It was, I posted it today to be clear, but it was from yesterday, and I specified that in the post. And I mentioned that Josh Simmons was going up against Chris Jones. Now, it was a play where Patrick Mahomes got Chris Jones a jump, and the same exact thing happened in Wednesday's practice. But Josh Simmons has been going up against Mike Dana. He's been going up against George Karlaftis. He's gone up against Chris Jones a few times. Man, if there is a place for Josh Simmons to learn and grow and try to be the best offensive tackle he can be during this time of the year with training camp and preseason coming up very soon, dude, going up against Chris Jones, that'll teach you a lot of things real quick. You screw up, you let Chris Jones beat you, okay, no big deal. Rather do that today on July the 25th than September the 25th. That's when you would rather see those mistakes. And listen, Josh Simmons will go through his learning curve and whatnot as a rookie. Every rookie does. But I think with what I've seen from Simmons so far, it's been mostly positive. Has he gotten beat? Yes, he has. And so has Jalen Moore. That's practice, man. You'll have some great reps and you'll have some bad reps. It's been mostly positive, to answer your question. I do think he is the answer. This is a guy that's had a lot of hype, and you know, you never want to see anyone get injured. And Brett Veach kind of said this as well in his press conference. Because of his injury situation and some of the concerns other teams had, it just worked out in Kansas City's favor that he fell to the Chiefs at 31. Well, technically 32 because they swapped picks with the Eagles, but man, it's just one of those situations where you lucked out and you never apologize for it. So take advantage of it because Kansas City needs that right now. We're obviously confident in the center and the right guard spots. The left tackle spot, cautiously optimistic, right? Same with Kingsley Suamataia. I think he'll be better as a guard than a tackle. We'll see. He's not going to be Joe Thuney. And if he is, I'll tell you right now that I was wrong about that. I will admit that. I'll clip it, post it, let you guys make fun of me about that. But man, I feel like there's just so much hype, and maybe I'm overhyping it. I know we had optimism about Kingsley last year. This just feels different because of the success Simmons had. And I think Simmons is coming in here with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because, you know, he had to watch his team win from the sidelines, win the national championship, that is, in Ohio State. The Chiefs are coming off a Super Bowl loss. So I think that chip on everyone's shoulders, Josh Simmons included, it's like, okay, you know what everyone's coming off of last year. So everyone wants to have a better season this year and a better ending. Josh Simmons included. My friend actually recommended this awesome channel to me. Well, thank you, Timmy. And do I know Joe? I don't know if I know a Joe personally. I mean, I'm not asking for last names to be made public, but I would have to know who specifically. There's a difference to me between knowing someone and knowing of someone. I know of a lot of people, but I only actually know a few people. But I know a lot of people don't use that term specifically. Case says Thornton has been looking very good at wide receiver. Yes, he has. He actually has. I've been impressed. The two wide receivers I've been kind of surprised by in training camp so far are Jalen Royals and Tyquan Thornton. Jalen Royals has been getting involved a lot with Patrick Mahomes with 7-on-7, 11-on-11. Mahomes has been throwing it to Jalen Royals quite a lot. That needs to be noted here. And I know people are speculating, is it because of the recent news with Rashee Rice and a possible suspension looming over him? Maybe. I know Patrick Mahomes was asked about Rice's involvement early in training camp, or on the first day of camp rather, and whether that has anything to do with a possible suspension. I kind of thought that was a bad question, if I'm just being completely honest. And even if it was with that, I don't think the Chiefs are going to say, yeah, we're working around a possible suspension that we don't know exactly when it will come down. We know a suspension is coming. We just don't know how many games and when. My prediction has been 2 to 4 games, probably more so 4 games. As far as when, man, your guess is as good as mine. I still remember in 2022, Willie Gay and Frank Clark both received suspensions in season. And that caught the Chiefs. Andy Reid was not happy about that because the thought was that their whole situations had been cleared and decided upon, and then they came down with those suspensions during the season. So that was a surprise for sure. The Bills have a cake schedule. They might get home field in the playoffs. I wonder if this is by design. I mean, listen, I know a lot of people mention, oh, this team got an easy schedule. Why? No one gets an easy schedule. A schedule is not given to anyone. The rotation for the games with which divisions you play and where you visit and whatnot, that's all been predetermined. In fact, we already know 14 of the 17 opponents for the next few years. The only thing we don't know is those remaining 3 games. You'll visit, the top seeded team from a certain division, or whoever you finish the same seed as. So, for example, if the Chiefs finish in first place, actually, let me pull that up real quickly. Chiefs 2026 future schedule. There's a website that shows all of these. Pro Football Reference has it as well. I did not realize that. Or maybe they don't. Yeah, they do actually. But it doesn't specify who's home and away. There's another website that has that. Let me find that. There it is. FB schedules, football schedules. So in 2026, the Chiefs will visit the Bills, the Broncos, obviously the AFC West. Who else do they visit? The Chargers, Rams, Dolphins, Seahawks. They'll visit somebody from the AFC North and the NFC South. We don't know who yet. Whoever finishes, let's just say the Chiefs win the AFC West again for the 10th year in a row. Whoever also finishes in first place in the AFC North and the NFC South, that's who the Chiefs will visit. And then the Chiefs will also play whoever is first place in the AFC South. That will be at Arrowhead. So that's how those schedules are predetermined. As far as Buffalo themselves, I'm just skimming through Buffalo's schedule right now. Just looking at the first 6 weeks before their bye, yeah, it's fairly easy. I mean, you have Baltimore in week 1. That's going to be a tough one. But then you have the Jets. The Dolphins are kind of hot and cold sometimes, but they haven't been able to beat the Bills in a while. The Saints, the Patriots, I think people think are going to improve. But until then, Buffalo's still the better team. The Falcons, yeah, it's a fairly easy schedule. I mean, you have Baltimore. That's definitely going to be a tough one. Kansas City at home. Baltimore is also going to be at home. They also have the Bengals at home. And I know the Bengals, there's a lot of uncertainty with that team, especially their defense. They have the Eagles at home. They have a few difficult games, but they're all at home. The Eagles, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Dolphins maybe could push and challenge them. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Listen, Buffalo supposedly had an easier season last year, but look at Kansas City. I was really concerned about Kansas City during that 3-game stretch in 11 days. Remember that last year? I was really concerned, but they pulled through. They pulled through and they won. And Buffalo losing to, it was the Rams in a very high scoring games. That was a difference maker. Even though Buffalo beat Kansas City in the regular season, that was the difference maker, losing to the Rams. And I think the Bills had their starters just for a couple of plays just to get Josh Allen some record. I don't remember exactly what it was. But then they pulled through. The Chiefs, that is. And they had a 1-game lead on the Bills. they rested their starters in week 18, which can always help. I know people made a big deal. Oh, a 24-day rest. Well, the Chiefs gave their starters a 21-day rest. And by the way, can we just be honest here? Saying that a team has a 21-day rest, they're not sitting on the couch watching movies, playing video games, and eating chips and ice cream the entire duration of the 21 days. I mean, they're still practicing. They're still training. They're still lifting weights. It's not like they're just completely checked out. I think people kind of blow the whole 21 days off thing out of proportion. On a bye week, yeah, whenever you play your last game before the bye week, you have the team meeting the next day, and then teams are off until the following Monday. That's when players are away from the facilities. But as far as like an actual like setup for the postseason, no. I mean, the team is still out there practicing and preparing. Oh, well, I appreciate you, Kay, welcoming me to Dallas. I'm looking forward to it. I'm all for recommendations. I've done some research, but you got to let me know if there's something that might not be on my radar. It is. Listen, all of my social media has been growing a lot lately. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, everything's going up. And it was the same way last year around this time. And it went up again right before the regular season, really the first week of the regular season. So that's because of you guys. I can't thank you guys enough for what you guys have done, the support. And again, I recognize there are a shit ton of new people this week, and I really do appreciate you guys as well. So that really means a lot. Thank you guys. I appreciate the love. And Robert, I know you've been around a long time as well. A lot of you guys commenting have been around for a while, and some of you guys are new. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Boris wants to know, hi, Farzine. I know you are a Vegas Golden Knights fan. That damn right I am. Yeah. Air horns. We're taking back the cup this year. We're definitely taking back the cup. I say that every year, and I make a fool out of myself, except for year 6. There's a rumor of Bill Foley finishing the deal to buy my hometown soccer club in Croatia. What is your opinion on what Foley did with the Golden Knights? Thanks, and go Chiefs from Croatia. Well, shout out to Croatia. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. This is how far we've grown. We've got people from outside of the United States. I always love hearing from people internationally. So thank you for that, Boris. As far as my thoughts on Foley, he did say that he wanted a championship by year 6, and they made it happen. Now I'm still learning the sport of hockey, but man, Vegas has not been shy about changing their head coaches, even though they've won a lot of regular season games. I remember they were just 2 or 3 games out of first place, and they let Gerard Gallant go, which was a surprise to a lot of people, me included. And they got the number 1 seed that year. I think that was the same year. I think that was the pandemic year where they had to postpone the season. I can't recall exactly, but it did happen. I mean, they were able to turn things around, and then they let oh gosh, I can't remember his name. He went to the Dallas Stars and he got fired. If I look that up real quickly, Dallas Stars fire Peter Dobert. That's who it was. They let the Vegas Golden Knights let him go, and they hire Bruce Cassidy from Boston. I was really surprised when Boston fired him, and that was my one guy I wanted from the Golden Knights. So I think in terms of the job he's done with what he has control over, yeah, he's done a really good job. And I'm not too familiar with soccer overall, Boris, so this may not be the greatest answer, but if you want an owner that's serious about winning, Foley's certainly serious about that. So I think that soccer club, if he does finish buying that team, I think that team is going to be under good ownership. All-Star Go Hard. I like that name. Who's the wide receiver I draft for my fantasy team? Man, I appreciate you guys wanting to rely on me for fantasy football. I am the worst person to ask for fantasy. I mean, it obviously depends on when you're picking. But, you know, is there an answer better than Jamar Chase or the wide receiver from the Vikings, Justin Jefferson? Here's a name that I think might go a little under the radar, and I know he's got a little bit of a contract conflict with the Commanders, but Scary Terry. I mean, he's got the second most touchdowns this season, does he not? Or last season, excuse me. So, if you're looking for a really good wide receiver, I would say that would be the wide receivers to consider on your board. Who are your top 5 AFC teams for the 2025 season? I'll put the Chiefs at 1. I'll put Buffalo second. And then third is got to be between Baltimore and Cincy. Here's a problem. Like, I know what kind of a team the Ravens will be. And I think, they're looking to improve with DeAndre Hopkins and obviously another year with Derrick Henry. But I just struggle with the Bengals. Like, the Bengals should be a team that should be seriously considered for the number 1 team in the AFC. They've got the best quarterback, statistically speaking, from last year. They've got the best wide receiver, statistically speaking, from last year. And I know their defense isn't great, but I guess contractually speaking, they have the best edge rusher in the NFL, but they missed the playoffs. I know the defense was awful, but how do you put up all of those points and have the leader in yards, passing touchdowns, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, receptions, sacks, and you miss the playoffs? That was confusing to me, and I just don't know what they're gonna look like. I know his name escapes my mind right now. The head coach of the Bengals, when they were thinking that the Chiefs were obligated to them to want to win that Week 18 game by using their starters when they had no reason to do that. He was in his press conference, a post-game press conference on Saturday after they beat whoever they beat. And he says they don't want us in the playoffs. And then they fired 4 of their assistant coaches once the season ended for them. Like, come on. How are you expected to be taken seriously when you say something like that and then you fire a bunch of your coaches, including your D coordinator, which, listen, I don't think their defensive coordinator was the issue. Lou, I can't remember his last name, but he was not the issue. I know they got the guy from Notre Dame, and I think that'll certainly be good for them. But if your team is not fielding a good defense, it doesn't matter who you could get Spags or Romeo Crennel, Dick LeBeau, guys who've been great defensive coordinators in the NFL. They're not going to succeed with that personnel that you're fielding out there. And that's on the front office there. Like, listen, they're going to pay Trey Hendrickson. I don't know what they're doing right now. Excuse me. And even if they don't pay Trey Hendrickson, he's not going to miss out on a $21 million payday, guys. Like, I don't care how rich you are. I looked it up. He's made $68 million in his career. He's not missing out on $21 million. Look at Chris Jones. He missed that first game, and then he signed a contract that didn't really benefit him for that year. Now, yeah, he got the $1.5 million incentive or whatever it was when he got the sack, the last sack he needed at the end of the season against the Chargers. But, eventually you realize you're like, oh, we're playing a kid's game here for millions of dollars, and I'm sitting out and missing out on all of this. So eventually he'll show up. He's not missing out on $20+ million. He might miss that first game for leverage, but he'll be there. And even with him, your defense is still atrocious. And they've got the rookie who's, fussing and not willing to show up. He's the only first-round draft pick unsigned. It's a crazy deal, man. I don't know. Oh, there goes, all kinds of things. We got tech issues. We got props dropping. That was, that's Kane Hodder. That was CJ Graham right there. Yeah, Kane Hodder signed that one. This one that just fell. Yeah, I'll pick it up later. That was signed by CJ Graham. Let me take a break from Facebook and YouTube. I'll come back to you guys. Let me see if I don't see a bunch of you guys are watching on Twitter, but I'm not seeing any comments here. Am I missing something? And I apologize. This is the preseason for me as well. I don't know how, because I see myself on the live stream and I see a bunch of you guys are watching on there, and thank you guys so much. That means a lot. But am I missing something with the chat? I don't know. Or is there not an actual chat function on there? I don't know. Let me go to Instagram real quickly. See if there are any questions there. Chris says, hi, Farzine. Love to see you doing. Oh, yeah. What's up, Chris? Appreciate you. Lucas _ Kelly says, do you think Jalen Moore over Taylor is best at right tackle? I do, but I don't think that's going to be your week one lineup. I think the Chiefs want to move forward with Jawaan Taylor unless, and let's say Jawaan Taylor comes back off PUP next week. That's just speculation on my end. I'm just making up a scenario also. But let's say Taylor does play in the preseason. If Taylor looks awful in the preseason snaps that he plays, then maybe you can determine before the regular season even gets underway that Jalen Moore should be your right tackle going into that week one game in Brazil. For now, my prediction, like if I had to bet on it, I think Jalen Moore is the better option, but I think they're going with Jawaan Taylor. They're going to let Jalen Moore start on the sidelines, but dude, he's on speed dial. Yeah, if Jawaan Taylor is struggling and can't improve from last season, they're going to make that switch, and they won't hesitate doing so. What's your early Super Bowl prediction? Matthew's asking. I'm going Chiefs over the Lions. I think if the Lions stay healthy, they'll have a much better defense. Commanders, that's also been another one. The Eagles, offensively, I think are going to be good. I do have some concerns about their defense. I think the defense is going to take a step back. You were speaking on the Chiefs wide receivers. I mean, because of Rice's suspension, that should be coming soon. I would say Xavier Worthy would be the best wide receiver to draft. I'd love to say Hollywood Brown, but I'm a little skeptical on that. I'm glad he's back. Don't get me wrong. I was big on Hollywood Brown last year, but considering how much Xavier Worthy grew last year, I would say if you want a Chiefs wide receiver for your fantasy team, go with Xavier Worthy, who's a top 3 tight end to draft for fantasy. If you're asking Chiefs tight ends or just tight ends overall, certainly would not be Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce will get more involved this year, but maybe not. I don't think he'll have like a statistical improvement in a big manner. Trey McBride would be pretty good. I mean, it just seems like he's getting better. I think Brock Bowers will be even better. And that guy was the best tight end last year, statistically speaking. So I like Geno Smith better than Aiden O'Connell. I still have my reservations about the Raiders. I mean, who wouldn't? They're the Raiders, for crying out loud. A team that just cut Christian Wilkins after signing him to a 4-year monster deal last year and voiding the guaranteed deals because of some conflict with how he was taking care of his injury. I mean, listen, that was they wanted Chris Jones. That was their backup plan in case they didn't get Chris Jones. Chris Jones obviously re-signed with the Chiefs. And as soon as Chris Jones re-signed, they wasted little time getting Christian Wilkins. So you tell me whether they really wanted Chris Jones or not. That can't just be one big, massive coincidence. But man, that was NFL memes showed a college quarterback shaking right before the snap. And they were basically saying this is what opposing quarterbacks are going to look like against Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. Not even close. That did not age well, as a lot of people like to say. Absolutely. You're welcome, Boris. Jacob says, there we go. The X comments show up here. Okay, finally got an X comment. A lot of you guys are watching. Don't be shy. Chime in. Say something. Say hello. A lot of you guys are watching on there. Yeah, Chiefs Mania says he's working but listening. Hey, at the jewelry store. Yeah, you gotta pay attention at the jewelry store, man. I mean, that's where have you not played Grand Theft Auto 5 and all the jewelry heists they were doing on there? But no, I appreciate you guys listening. I know some of you guys are at work, school, whatever it is. And some of you guys catch the archive version of this later. So that is greatly appreciated. So thank you guys. That really does mean a lot. Jacob says Brazil kickoff game Friday, September the 5th. Chiefs play the Chargers this year, so it's a home game for the Chargers in Brazil. Yes, that is correct. I guess with the Chiefs' popularity internationally, that could maybe feel like a home game because of Taylor Swift and how she just has a big reach everywhere, and a lot of people outside of people who are Swifties, I guess, pull for the Chiefs because of Kelsey. So I could maybe work to Kansas City's advantage. I don't know. We'll see. Jacob also says, I remember Mahomes playing week 1 versus the Chargers in 2018 in LA. Chiefs beat the Chargers week 1, 38-28. I don't remember that exact score, so I'll take your word for it. But I remember that game as well. I remember Tyreek Hill took a punt return back for a touchdown, and we're like, oh, we got to wait one more drive before we see Patrick Mahomes with the starting offense. Because even though he played the year before in that week 17 game, the only starter he played alongside with was Kareem Hunt, just so Kareem could get the rushing title. He got it in 1 or 2 drives, and after that, they pulled him out of the game. So, yeah, I remember that. And then the sweep tosses to one of them was to Tyreek. I can't remember who the second one was to. I want to say it was either Byron Pringle or Demarcus Robinson. But yeah, that was a hell of a start for Patrick Mahomes. Keep in mind, I was thinking about this the other day too. Patrick Mahomes, his first 3 regular season games were all road games. Hello. Can you guys hear me? Hello. Are we good? There we go. I apologize. I have no idea what happened there. But I was thinking about this the other day. The fact that he started his first 3 games at Denver, at LA, and at Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh one was the big one because that's when he threw 6 touchdowns in that game. And if I recall, I think he also got sacked in the end zone for a safety. So it wasn't like a perfect game from him. And people were, outside of Kansas City, were like, oh, yeah, he throws a lot. Ben Roethlisberger in that game, that week 2 game, he threw more pass attempts in that game than Mahomes had the first 2 games of that season. So people always, trying to create their weird narrative. It's always funny, but no, I mean, it's not like he was just chucking the ball every single play. So Patrick Mahomes played 3 games before making his Arrowhead regular season debut. And I just remember that year, if you guys are familiar with Costantino's, there are 2 locations in Kansas City, maybe more. There was one downtown where they have like an ice cream setup, and they just had like cherry flavored desserts, and they were just calling it Mahomes, whatever the dessert was. They were just naming it after Mahomes because it was red, and reference to the Chiefs. It's like, that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, I think we have a superstar quarterback in Kansas City finally. And obviously, we know how that season ended, him winning MVP just short of the Super Bowl. But hey, they've won 3 in 5 years and have been in the AFC Championship game every single year with Mahomes. So yeah, that start to and I know the docuseries about the Chiefs is coming out on the Dynasty. Obviously, it's not going to have a good ending. It's going to be a sad ending. The good or sad, depending who you root for. But I'm curious to see how that story starts. How are they going to cover the Mahomes portion of, or how is that story going to be told? Are they going to go and reflect on the entire dynasty run, or is it just last season? I'm really curious to know, because Mark Donovan spoke to the media recently, and he talked about how with this docuseries, they were willing to give access that they honestly never gave, even for the quarterback series. That's why you don't see the Chiefs for Hard Knocks, because Andy Reid has a lot of restrictions on cameras and whatnot. So I'm very curious to see what access they allowed that they didn't allow for the quarterback series. Because if you watch the quarterback series just recently with Burrow, Goff, and who was the other quarterback? Cousins. Dude, they're showing them like in practice, talking to guys, talking to coaches and whatnot, but you don't see a lot of that when they did season 1 of QB with Mahomes. Like, you don't see Mahomes doing a lot of practice interactions. You saw a little bit of it, but not much. So they had their restrictions for sure. Do I think the Chiefs get another big name? Or are they going to stick with who they have on their roster? I think it depends on what you consider a big name. Like Juju is not a big name, but I think that's someone that they felt was significant for the offense. Maybe someone of Juju's caliber, like could get cut by another team and the Chiefs would bring him in. That is possible. I just don't know. Like maybe on the defensive side, they might look for somebody like either in the secondary or on that defensive line to try to add some depth and muscle up front. That can never hurt. But I'm not really expecting a big addition after the preseason cuts. Could a trade happen midseason like DeAndre Hopkins last year? That's certainly possible. Although at this moment, it's hard to say what they would desperately need in the middle of the season. So we'll have to see how that part goes on. But as far as like roster cuts, trying to trim it down to 53, I'm not expecting like a big addition right before the regular season gets underway. I'm not sure about the Lions are going to be good this year since they lost both the coordinators. That's a really good point, especially the new head coach in Chicago, Ben Johnson. That is a big loss for their offense, and that's in the division too. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to look as well. I still think Dan. I really like Dan Campbell. Like if Andy Reid retired today, and hypothetically speaking, I got to handpick. Like if I was Clark Hunt, I got to handpick any head coach I'd want. Dan Campbell would be very high on that list. And I would say, like, if Andy Reid, again, stepped away today, who would I want? I would want Mike Vrabel. I'm a big fan of Mike Vrabel. But, man, I feel like the Lions would still be in good hands. I don't think they're going to be as dominant, like 15 games, like they were last year. And they are in a very competitive division. Keep in mind, the Vikings, with their backup quarterback, Sam Darnold, I mean, they were competing for the number one spot, two teams from the same division. And I think the Packers are going to play better as well, too. I think Jordan Love is just getting more and more experience here. But I think the Lions will still be competitive. What are my thoughts on the backup quarterback? Minshew has had a couple of decent throws so far in camp. It seems like he doesn't stand tall at the pocket and wants to pull and run. Zappe stands tall and has really looked like a better option for number two. Yeah, they both have some experience as starters. I know Zappe had some in New England when Mac Jones started to really decline. And listen, I actually thought Mac Jones got off to a good start his rookie year. That those last 6 weeks in 2021 or 2022, I can't remember exactly what year, or was it 2020 rather? Dude, the Patriots just ran into a brick wall. The Patriots actually look like the best team in football in going into the month of December, and then they just forgot how to play football and got whooped by the Bills in the playoffs. But listen, I like Minshew. He hasn't necessarily. I don't really think either quarterback has been wildly impressive in training camp. Minshew does have some significant experience. He's been a starter at some point just anywhere he's gone. I know Jacksonville, he had that start against Kansas City, and you know he's been a guy that a lot of people have liked having on their team since then. But I don't know realistically, like if I had to bet on it, I think Minshew's going to be your number two, and Zappe could be the practice squad guy. The Chiefs liked Bailey Zappe, but when Deshaun Watson got hurt, Cleveland had to do a little bit of a shakeup with their quarterbacks, and they got Bailey Zappe from the Chiefs practice squad. So I know the Chiefs like Zappe, and they also like Chris Oladokun because they brought him back when Zappe went on to Cleveland. So I think Zappe is probably going to be more closer in competition with Oladokun than he would with Minshew. That's my opinion. Angie says, I'm watching on X. Is it under your name on YouTube? I tried switching, but couldn't find it. YouTube is at the Chief Zone. So yeah, if you search Farzin Vousoughian, you'll find a separate YouTube channel. That is mine. Has like 1,000 some subscribers. But no, as far as like the one I actually use, it's youtube.com/@thechiefzone, or just search the Chief Zone on YouTube. And yeah, by the way, for those of you who, let me see if I can pull that up. For those of you who have not subscribed already, and a bunch of you guys are watching, and I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't already, I commented on Instagram, and I'll comment on StreamYard. And I think on StreamYard, it'll go to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Let me just. Okay, there it is. There's my YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, that's the one where I have the least amount of followers. It's also the new one I started up last year. Got off to a good side. We have around 800 subscribers on there. Could definitely use more to try to push some content out there. Whenever you guys like and share something and comment on YouTube, that helps out a lot. So if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, as we're trying to boost that one as we go on. But yes, Angie, it is at the Chief Zone on YouTube. It's not under my name, just to be clear. So glad you asked that. Since 2018, no team has stepped on the field more than the Chiefs. 137 battles deep and still hungry for more. Yeah, and I know a lot of people have mentioned this. I know Joe Theismann mentioned this on K Adams show on YouTube. The Chiefs have played essentially an extra season during this run here. Now, here's what I will say, because I know a lot of people outside of Kansas City love to use that against the Chiefs because they've played essentially an extra season since 2018, because they keep playing into late January and February every year. Let me ask you guys a simple question here. Have the Chiefs played a lot of games? Yes. But do you really think that, in the middle of June, when just about every team wraps up OTAs and mandatory minicamp, and they're kind of on their own training and just enjoying their downtime, do you think Chiefs players are like, man, I'm so tired because we just played into February for the third year in a row? Like, do you think Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, they feel that way? I don't know the answer. I mean, I would have to ask the players myself to be able to know that. But I've got a feeling that, once, April, May, June rolls around, I don't think the players are feeling physically exhausted because they played a few extra games. Like, once we're in week 4 of the regular season, do you think players from the Chiefs are tired because they've played into February 3 years in a row? No, I mean, come on. I know a lot of people love to bring that. I'm not saying you are, Matthew. I'm just saying a lot of people outside are. It's like, okay, yeah, they keep playing a lot of playoff games because they keep winning a lot. So what? It hasn't slowed them down yet. So why would it be this year? Because I've heard that for a couple of years now, that the Chiefs are going to start to slow down because they've played so many games. I've yet to see that become a fact. So unless you can scientifically prove to me that it's happening 100% this year, I'm not believing it. And listen, let's say the Chiefs don't make it to the AFC Championship game this year. I don't think that'll be the case, but do you think it's because they played so many games? No, it'll be because they got outplayed by whoever the opposing team is. Bag says Nick Bolton is the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. Yeah. Nick Bolton, I was nervous about in terms of coming back to Kansas City. I did not think he was coming back. I thought he was moving on because of the cap concerns and whatnot. And obviously the Chiefs, they decided to move on from Joe Thuney instead to be able to keep a guy like Nick Bolton. They let Tyreek Hill, they didn't let him go, but they traded him so they could keep guys like Chris Jones, Creed Humphrey, and so many others. But also the Chiefs have had to make some difficult decisions here. But this is a football team that's always figured it out, even though they've had to, like, look at L'Jarius Sneed. We all love L'Jarius Sneed in Kansas City, but Kansas City had to make a choice. It was either Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed. They went with Jones because even though Sneed's younger, he's dealt with a lot of injuries. As unfair as it may be, the Chiefs by far made the better decision because, number one, Sneed only played 5 or 6 games last year, and he's starting, if I'm not mistaken, isn't he starting Titans training camp on PUP? Yeah, I see it on the Titans website. L'Jarius Sneed is on PUP. Sucks, but it is part of the game. And Brett Veach has certainly proven that he made the better decision. Not only did he get a very high third-round draft pick out of L'Jarius Sneed, he's missed a lot of games and has been unavailable for them. All right, I'll read a couple more and then get out of here. Let me comment with this on the X page. There. For those of you watching on X, if it there we go. I just commented with the YouTube link. If you haven't already, please subscribe to that YouTube channel. I know a lot of you guys have, but if you haven't already, please click that subscribe. Would greatly appreciate that as we try to push the YouTube channel out there more. All right, I'll read a couple more and get out of here. And I appreciate all the questions today. Our first Red Friday Q&A live chat of the season. Excited to bring this back. All-Star Go Hard, how do you feel about the current safety position? I do like Jaden Hicks stepping up into this role here. I know there's been some hype with him. I think Tyrann Mathieu, Brett Veach shared that Mathieu texted Brett Veach as they were just catching up and everything. And Tyrann Mathieu said that Jaden Hicks reminds him of himself. So that's quite the endorsement there. Justin Reed, who's now with the Saints, he's also given the approval and believes that Jaden Hicks will do very well. Not that he would say the complete opposite, but the Chiefs feel pretty good about Jaden Hicks. And he looked good in the games he played last year. We mentioned earlier the 3 games in 11 days. Jaden Hicks played a lot during that stretch just to kind of help alleviate things with the secondary. And he really came through during that 11-day stretch for the Chiefs. So I'm excited to see Jaden Hicks, excuse me. There are so many Jalens and Jadens on the team. More, I'll get a lot of those. I'm excited to see what Jaden Hicks is going to do. I really am. Brian Cook, I know he dealt with that injury against Green Bay a couple of years ago. He's an underrated safety, above average, certainly serviceable, and will help get the job done for you. But if the Chiefs have the defensive front, which I think they do, especially with those 2 rookies coming in, they have good experience pressuring quarterbacks in college. And I think if that translates well for them in the NFL, Kansas City's defensive line is going to be one of the best in the NFL, top 5 for sure. And if they can pressure quarterbacks, that'll really help make things easier on the secondary. It's still a very young secondary for sure. Even though a lot of those guys from the 22 draft class now have 3 years of experience, still a fairly young group. Trent McDuffie, I know you're specifically asking safeties, but that unit as a whole, Shamari Connor, Dion Bush, specifically the safeties, what you're asking about, that's a group that I think will do really well this year, especially with the defensive front. When you have a defensive front, a lot of secondaries can thrive. Steve Beach says, possibly unpopular opinion for the NFC Super Bowl team, I'm going with the Rams. I don't know if I would bet on the Rams to win the NFC. I don't think it's a bad bet to make, especially for betting purposes. You probably would win a little more. But I do like the fact that they brought back Matthew Stafford. A lot of people thought they'd be a much different team under center. But, man, when you look at the Rams and look, I'm a big fan of Cooper Kupp. It's unfortunate it didn't work out there because if they found a way to keep Cooper Kupp, dude, Puka Nacua, and adding Devontae Adams, who's trying to turn things around here, yeah, that has a chance to do some damage to opposing defenses. I like Tutu Atwell, their 2nd-round pick from a few years ago. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see with the Rams. I do think they'll be one of the better teams in the NFC. Yeah, that Rams team, that would not be a bad bet to make for NFC champions. So, yeah, C-Beach, if you're better, that would not be a bad one to make. Thank you, Chiefs Mania. Appreciate it. Angie says, I'm actually looking forward to seeing the defense. I'm hoping good things for Ashton Gelati. He seems like a good guy. Yeah, he's learning for sure. In those defensive line drills, he does look a little slow coming off the snap, but I think, this is the time to improve on all of that. He was top 10, I think specifically 6th when it came to pressures last year. That's pretty huge. I know he had 41.5 sacks in college, give or take. That's a guy who had a lot of good experience. And that's a big reason why people feel like the Chiefs had such a great draft, because they have Ashton Gillotte and Omar Norman-Lott, guys who had done some good things in college football. So, yeah, Ashton Gillotte, I think, is going to be a big difference maker. May not see much of him in this season, but I think in the future, Gilotte's someone who's going to get involved a lot. And I think that puts pressure on a guy like FAU, who knows there's a reason why they just drafted him, and he needs to step up and start playing better. Yeah, he's had flashes. I remember in Super Bowl 58. Sorry, the Chiefs have been in so many Super Bowls. I have to think for a second. FAU had a couple of good run stuffs against Christian McCaffrey in that game. Christian McCaffrey did not have a good Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Yeah, he had that nice trick play moment there, but that was really it with CMC in that game in terms of positive things. So I think I think Gillotte will get involved as the season goes on, more so in the second half. But I'll tell you right now, because you have George Karlaftis signed through 2030. Chris Jones is signed through 2028. Ashton Gillotte and Omar Norman-Lott, they're on rookie deals signed through 2028. If those guys can pan out and play well like I think they will, Kansas City's defensive line might seriously be set for several years. Remember the Williams duo, the Williams wall in Minnesota in the late 2000s, early 2010s? And then they added Jared Allen, and their defensive line was much better. I'm thinking this defensive line could be very similar to Minnesota's defensive line from back then. I'm excited to see what this Chiefs team is going to do up front in the next 4 to 5 years. Last question from Matthew. What's your opinion on the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl ring? I can't hit on it. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. Any bird mascot, whether it's, the Arizona Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Baltimore Ravens, the Toronto Blue Jays, any bird mascot in sports, they're 100% gonna copy the wings. Dude, that actually looked badass. I can't hit on it. Can't hit on it. As much as I want to, I can't. I mean, I don't know if any team that's not a bird mascot, how can they replicate something like that? I mean, I guess with the Arrowhead logo, you could maybe make it pop out from the side a little more. I'm not sure, but I'm telling you right now, the Eagles, the way they designed the ring with the wings, the green wings, a lot of teams are going to copy that if they ever win a championship, like the Ravens, like the Cardinals, Blue Jays. I mean, they're 100% going to replicate that. Yeah. That I think the Eagles gave a lot of ideas to a lot of teams out there, especially teams that have bird mascots. All right, guys. Hey, this was a great start to the Red Friday Q&A live chat for the season. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you. Those of you watching on Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube, thank you guys so much. Greatly appreciate all of you guys and all of the interaction on today's live stream. Again, please make sure you guys follow me. Facebook and Instagram are Farzin Vousoughian. Just spell it like you hear it. Twitter is at Farzin21. Twitter X. I always interchange it myself. I even forget. YouTube is at the Chiefs Zone. So I would greatly appreciate everyone who subscribes on to the YouTube channel for the podcast. All right. Obviously, we'll still be posting. The Chiefs are not going to have practice tomorrow. They'll resume on Sunday. Sunday will be the first camp where they'll have pads on. So that will be the big change for Chiefs training camp. I'll be back at training camp at some point, not exactly sure when. But for those of you guys going this weekend, have fun, stay cool, stay hydrated. I've had a lot of people ask me, and I'll share this real quickly. For those who are going, they do have a lot of water stations there. They're $4. Now, I've been told you can bring water in, but if you're going to stand in line for a while, it won't be as cool once you get in. So listen, I'm not a fan of these prices. Then again, nobody is, honestly. But if you're wanting some information on that front, it is $4 inside Missouri Western's practice facility area. So props to them for having that. Stay cool. I know there was one incident last year where they had to attend to a fan that was dehydrated. So stay hydrated, stay cool, enjoy it, have fun. I will talk to you all later. Take care.